we're a federal agency and we're only 15 minutes late, which means we're actually ahead in some avenues, right? So we're not doing bad. Welcome to the TVA West Tower. My name is Will Trum. I work for TVA. I get the honor of serving as our Vice President of Workforce Development, Safety, Labor Relations, and our occupational health groups. So excited about talking about workforce development, what we're doing. And excited to have you guys here today with a great partnership that we have, specifically with the Department of Labor in Nashville. So really thankful to be here today. And I saw Dwayne Scott earlier. I don't see him now. There he is, Dwayne. Thank you for your continued partnership. Thank you for what you guys are doing to help create value in the Valley, specifically around the apprenticeship program that we're here to talk about today. We know across TVA, we focus on three key things. We call it our three major E's. We talk about energy, right, and efficient, low-cost energy across the Valley. We talk about the environment with the rivers and the water systems that we run across the Valley. But today I know the focus is a lot on, I'm going to talk about economic development, right? And then economic development, and what does that mean for the workforce and for apprenticeships across the state of Tennessee? And even broader, because our footprint goes across 7 states, not just Tennessee, but I'm going to focus on Tennessee first. And some really great partnerships I have, because in the back of the room at TVA, there's no bigger partnerships that we have than our union partners. And back there, Glenn Kelly from North American Building Trade Unions, Eric Coons, Charles Raines. The partnership is always appreciative of how we do things and how we're driving those processes. You'll hear from them later on a panel. But thank you guys for being here today, and I really appreciate the partnership that we have with you. As we talk about apprenticeships and we talk about the work across Tennessee Valley, we know at Tennessee and in TVA, in the next 20 years, we have about 90 years of work to do. We know this is a realization of rebuilding the grid, the asset portfolio change that we're going through across the Valley, and the demand. Economic development has been great for the state of Tennessee. We have had great growth across the state of Tennessee. We are no longer a secret across this country of that Tennessee is a great place to work. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to vacation to. And you see that as you go across the state of Tennessee with the growth that we've had. At the same time, we've had some economic things that have occurred across the state of Tennessee. What we've had is, kind of the post-COVID, where we were seeing kind of flat load growth. We've seen a great uptick. You've seen with AI, new technology, things coming into the area, this growth. And then Dr. Hines, who's here to the left of me from University of Tennessee, as we all know, works on the governor's nuclear board. We've seen this huge emergence. And we were already a nuclear player, but I think Dr. Hines, you shared a number with me the other day about 159 nuclear companies just in the Oak Ridge area. 159. I want you to think about that a second. 159 nuclear companies just in that Oak Ridge market. Across the country, what we've seen, right, is with the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS bill, and different acts that have occurred, you've seen a whole lot of money come inside, multiple states. And so the competition for workforce today is much, much different than what it was with the gaps. The state of Tennessee has always been a little bit beneficial because we're long and narrow. We've always been able to attract workers from other geographic locations to come and offset a lot of the work across the Tennessee Valley when it comes to construction. But with these major infrastructure acts, what we have seen is the workforce can now stay closer to home because there's enough work closer to their homes that they don't have to travel out of state lines to do it. So I sometimes joke at TVA, it's kind of like Custer's last stand, right? We're surrounded with people keeping people from coming to help us, and we are our own Calvary, right? And I want to say that again. The state of Tennessee, the Tennessee Valley, we are our own Calvary. And we have a great population of a workforce. We have a great backbone of a workforce, but we need more. Today, we project to be short in every one of our 15 major craft unions with the work that's going on across the Valley. I'll say that again. Every one of our 15 major partners that do construction work across the Tennessee Valley, we're projected to be short because the attrition rate is greater than the apprenticeship rate of what we have, right? And it's not because of our partners are not out there trying. It's because there's been a disconnect over the last 10 to 15, 20 years of getting people into true apprentice programs that are life-changing programs. And there's reasons why that's occurred, right? There's a reason why we have marginalized people and marginalized society working in working poor jobs where there's opportunities for them to have a great living, but they don't know about some of the ways of getting into these programs, or we don't make it easy enough for people to get in some of these apprenticeship programs. I'm going to share some numbers with you guys here. The typical TVA journeyman electrician, right? Journeyman electrician, no college debt, went through an apprentice program. At TVA, our typical one is making over 6 figures a year. These are not jobs to sneeze at. These are jobs that these guys are driving on the weekends. They're F-250, with the boat behind them, right, going fishing, right? These are real careers. These are real jobs, but we need more, right? And so then how do we compete for more? And so this is something that we did here. And again, I'm going to appreciate my partners in the back of the room. We have to look at how do we bring people into the trades? How do we bring in people to kind of get these jobs and then actually develop them that maybe aren't traditionally into this line of work? And so I don't know many of you guys most of you guys know this, and I'm not making fun of this company when I talk about it, but I talk about Buc-ee's a lot. Now look, my wife always tells me I overshare, and I probably shouldn't, but I am here. So I like to stop at Buc-ee's, right, and I run inside. I don't usually buy something. I just like seeing the massive amount of people. But the one thing is when I'm pumping gas, and I'm assuming most of you guys have been there, and you're pumping gas. And when you're pumping gas, they have all their jobs, right? They have all their jobs and what they make per hour. And you'll see the car wash attendant is making $18 to $22 an hour, right? You'll see their cashier is making $22 to $25 an hour. Our apprentice programs sometimes start as low as $10 to $12 an hour. If I'm a single mom, right? If I'm a single mom who's working in a location that I have to pay bills this week, and you're asking me to give up $18 an hour on something that's going to be due that day, or come for 3 years and make $12 an hour, and it'll gradually increase up, what am I actually going to do? I'm worried about my bills that Friday being paid, so I'm staying in that. So how do we absorb and change that? And again, here's why I want to appreciate my partners in the back. All right, as long as I didn't change anything, I'm just going to pretend I didn't drop something. What we did was we looked at our apprentice rates across the Tennessee Valley, and we went from 55 to 71%, a national leader, to make sure that we're able to give people going into apprentice programs a living wage from day one, right? So from day one, there is a living wage out there to go and get these programs. And that was step one. How do we make a living wage? Secondly, what we've committed across the Tennessee Valley is to increase apprenticeship utilization to make sure that when we tell people to come get work, there's actually work for them to ensure they have long-term work, to have a career that they have dignity to have. They have good insurance, they have retirement, they actually have a process of what we're going to. Those are things that we did across Tennessee Valley. Today, a year after we started working on these things, today we have a 300% increase of apprentices across the Tennessee Valley inside of our apprentice programs, and it's no lack to the work being done by those people that back the room. We appreciate that partnership, because what they're really doing and what you guys are really doing in this room today and the work that we do with building apprentice programs, you're changing generations of lives. You're not changing that single mom I just talked about. You're not changing her life. You're changing her child's life. You're changing her grandchildren's trajectory by offering them an opportunity to have success for the rest of their life and change generations. And I think that's something we don't spend a lot of time talking about. We spend a lot of time talking about the now. We spend a lot of time talking about, your paycheck this Friday, but we're talking about generational changes to somebody's family by getting them into a registered apprentice program of work that we know we have and what we have. So we all leave this room, I hope, with a little bit of a charge as you guys are doing this week and you're going around this entire state kind of celebrating what's going on and the success we've had. But I'm telling you, every time I walk into the Buc-ee's or any of those places like that, I'm thinking to myself, great job. Now, I'm not knocking anyone doing work. Here's a person who's proven to have a working. How do we get this person into where we really need them so that the skills that we need for the future are there at the time? Dwayne, I probably stepped over your time frame. I apologize. We're pretty passionate about this, right, because we believe to have proper economic development, we have to have the workforce. As we bring in other employers into the Valley, we got to show them that Tennesseans have the skills, that have the ability, and we do. And we got to make sure we're putting our mouth, our money where our mouth is by going out and getting these people to take these life-changing opportunities. Again, thank you guys for being today. I think there's a wonderful program. And with that, I don't know if I'm turning over to Mr. Scott, but if so, Mr. Scott, thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here with you, and just excited about celebrating a program, a workforce program that has made some really, really great strides and impacted a lot of lives. But we think the best is still yet to come. And when we hear entities like Will and the TVA group that are making some intentional investments into apprenticeship, and you saw already results. Would you say 300%? That's what I heard him say. It's really, really special. So Solandra and the whole team here that works with you every day, this is a partnership. Apprenticeship does not work without a lot of players cooperating with each other. Teamwork is one of our core values. And what we're doing, how it fits within the Department of Labor, and my team hears me say this a lot. Our role is to take the workers, which is the workforce, bring them into the employers, which is the workplace, and that's where the magic happens, okay? From the standpoint of in the workplace. And of course, in our department, we have TOSHA and WRC that says we want to make sure that workplace stays safe and secure. But success is when the individual workers in the state of Tennessee are able to reskill, upskill themselves and increase their economics in their individual household. That's what success looks like. Now, workforce is ways for that to take place. And the way we approach this I'm working now under the commissioner's guidance with a kind of business services playbook. So we have the worker, which is one half of the equation, that's the supply, and then we have the businesses, which is the demand. And when we look at the businesses, what we're looking at basically doing is businesses, having been a former business owner myself, they've got pain points. Two major workforce pain points that businesses have, one is labor shortages, okay? And that comes in a lot of different ways. In a labor shortage, a business owner or a business operator is trying to bring on new employees into the operation, whether it's attrition through, we've got five generations working in the workplace right now, and baby boomers, which was the biggest birth group ever, they're going out, right? And so one of the things everyone is dealing with is trying to say, how do we deal with that attrition that's taking place? So there's work shortages, which is a pain point where we need to help employers with solutions to help them bring on new employees. Another pain point for employers or businesses is turnover, trying to keep existing employees. So on one hand is bringing in new employees. Another one is how do I keep the existing employees that I have where they can continue, and I've made those investments in them. So a lot of our energies and workforce solutions through partnerships is how do we help employers, businesses, address those two major pain points. And we do that with a lot of sector strategies and things like that. One of those sector strategies is work-based learning and apprenticeship program. The apprenticeship program is extremely successful. It's a strategy, but it has to happen with partnership as well. And we're over 10,000 active apprentices, almost. We're close to that number. Close to that number, and we're going to do another celebration when we hit that number as well. But what we want to be able to do is continue to be able to find success stories, and of course this whole thing has to be industry driven. The businesses have to be informing us on what not only the needs are now, but what's coming. So in workplace, in the Department of Labor, we deal with these in-demand sort of sectors that are needs employees and the workforce right now. But then we also have these emerging sectors Dr. Wes Hines and others. We're talking about nuclear is an emerging sector that's going to have its own set of opportunities throughout it. Not just scientists, but a lot of other opportunities there as well. We've got the EV market. We've got the electric battery market, which are different emerging markets as well. So while we're still addressing this, we're learning from the industries as far as what's needed in these emerging sectors so we can bring that in, and then all the partners of TBR and THEC and Department of Education and all the other partners that we have and the nonprofit. It's an ecosystem that has to work together to make this successful. Apprenticeship is one of those strategies that we've done an excellent job, but we know we can do a lot more. We need you to help us get the word out. We always are going to ask for feedback and communication, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be changed. We've experienced a success because of you. One of my often quotes, and my team gets tired of me hearing it, talking about teamwork. Teamwork happens only with everybody having the sort of same mind, and we're aligned, if you will, okay? And I talk about we can try to do it by ourselves, and we might get a lot of flash in the pan, but for the long term, it's got to be us working with everyone. So that's going to be our whole focus. We're trying to maneuver and trying to keep all the resources and assets aligned so that we can deliver to the businesses of the state of Tennessee a workforce that's ready and reskilled and business. What you have to do on your part, you've got to continue to develop pathways, because when you develop pathways, then the workers say, okay, I see where I can be with the company long term, not just jumping from company to company. The more those companies develop clear pathways, and we'll help communicate that as well, then those workers will stay with you, and you have a long-term investment that helps you be successful in what you're trying to do as well. So thank you to each of you for your contribution, for the success we've enjoyed thus far. As we said, the best is yet to come. Thank you, Solange.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your presence. I'm so glad that you not only registered, but you showed up today. That in itself, you deserve a round of applause. In Tennessee, we're calling this National Apprenticeship Month. National Apprenticeship Week doesn't truly start until November 17th. But we are so excited about the work that Tennessee has done in this space that we're celebrating all month long. So we affectionately call National Apprenticeship Week NAW because of our Tennessee accent. So you may hear us say NAW every now and then. It is Thursday in this season of Thanksgiving. Again, we are so thankful for our partners like TVA. Apprenticeship is a community-driven approach. It is a voluntary system. And you know, Tennessee, we're the volunteer state. So we have over 460 employer partners. We have close to 10,000 active apprentices and 430 programs. Thanks to TVA and thanks to partners like you, our local workforce development boards, the staff, our American Job Center network, our business and workforce directors, our leavers, as we call our local veteran representatives. They were all here, ready to greet you and thank you for your service to helping us increase Tennessee's labor force participation rate. Apprenticeships and state-certified pre-apprenticeships are a valuable pathway. We call it the gold standard of workforce development. It is employer-driven. There is a mentor relationship. There are related instruction courses. There are components that are changing lives for Tennesseans every day. The Department of Labor celebrated their first apprentice graduate. Mr. Jimmy Watson, I tell him all the time, he is our celebrity. He was not available today to come here and sign autographs, but we carry Jimmy in spirit. Jimmy was recruited by the state, but Jimmy did not have his high school diploma. So he went through our adult education program to obtain his high set. He passed with flying colors, and actually he scored very high marks. And today, Jimmy is on his way to be a supervisor for our boilers. Can we give Jimmy a hand, even though he's not here today? Let's give Jimmy. There's so many Jimmys, almost 10,000 Jimmys, and we are so thankful to TVA for everything they have done since 1939, 85 years. They were the first registered apprenticeship in the state of Tennessee, and we are so very thankful for the work you have done in the past, what you're doing today, and what you will do for the future of Tennesseans. The theme is engagement, expansion, and innovation. And what a better venue. This is the best venue to highlight how apprenticeships are truly changing the lives of Tennesseans. Now, Robert Kennedy, he said his grandmother only calls him Robert. So I'm training myself to call him Rob. So Rob joined us less than a month ago. Believe it or not, his first day was GovCon. As we know, what happens at GovCon stays at GovCon. But he was initiated there, and he has jumped right in. So can we clap for Robert like he's been with us for a year? Can we do that? Thank you for your time and attention, and thank you for your presence today.
All right, good morning. Thank you all very much for being here. And as Shalandra said, this is, I'm jumping right into this new apprenticeship director position, and I'm very excited and very happy to be serving East Tennessee and all the employers and industry partners and the local workforce in this area. So as we heard Mr. Trum and Deputy Commissioner talk about the workforce, there's a lot of innovation and there's a great need for this new workforce. And we strongly believe that apprenticeship programs are going to be the vehicle that connects the workforce to employers such as yourself. And I, for one, am just ecstatic to be able to play this small role in connecting the workforce and the employers in East Tennessee and across the entire volunteer state. So it was interesting, Mr. Trum, to hear you say, and Deputy Commissioner, 5 generations in the workforce right now. Apprenticeship programs are here to be able to connect all of those generations. We have the pre-apprenticeship program vehicle that we can use to connect the next generation workforce, reaching into the high schools and middle schools to start telling the employer story. We also, because of things that organizations like TVA are doing, making sure that apprenticeship programs have a living wage, that helps us attract people that may be looking for a second career. Maybe they had a career misfire, right? Maybe they've learned that there's another industry that they want to go to. Apprenticeship programs, and especially apprenticeship programs in Tennessee, can help connect those people to viable careers that give them true meaning in the work that they do. So again, I'm excited to be here and looking forward to working with each of you in building these apprenticeship programs. This next part of the conference here, I'm going to introduce some of the panelists. We're going to get straight into the panelist section. So I'm going to introduce a few people, and as I introduce you, you can come on up to the stage. So first off on the panel, we have Mr. Eric Coons. He's a special representative to TVA. Eric Coons was appointed to special representative in May of 2024 and is responsible for overseeing Tennessee Valley Authority projects. Eric has been the business manager and financial secretary treasurer of the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 572 in Nashville since he was elected in July 2017. Before that, he was elected president of Local 572 in 2015. Eric has sought to grow market share, organize new members, and grow the apprenticeship. Through media campaigns and boots on the ground, UA Local 572 has increased its membership from just over 1,100 members to more than 1,600 members. Also, under Eric's leadership, the apprenticeship, which numbered roughly 120 students, is now approaching 500 students. At the 2024 North America's Building Trades Union Conference, Eric received the Mark H. Ayers Community Achievement Award for the development of Nashville's Apprenticeship Readiness Program, ARP, known as MC3. After completing his apprenticeship in 2005, Eric worked on high-profile projects in Local 572's jurisdiction. During that time, he became an instructor for Local 572's JATC. He began to attend the UA's instructor training program, as well as pursue his degree through Weston Nile Community College, where he graduated with honors in 2022. Please help me welcome Mr. Coons. Next up, we have Mr. Glenn Kelly, Jr. He is the Southern Field Representative for North America's Building Trade Unions. A native of Georgia, Glenn Kelly, Jr. is a 14-year member of the International Union of Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers. Before joining North America's Building Trades Union, Glenn served as president of the Georgia State Building Trades Council and also managed 9 southeastern states as president of IUBAC's Local Region 8. Glenn sits on several boards, including the AFL-CIO General Board representing young workers, the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists Executive Board, the IUBAC Executive Council, and the Georgia State AFL-CIO. He also serves as the National Labor Task Force for Racial Justice, as co-chair of the Criminal Justice Reform Committee. Throughout his career, Glenn's leadership and relationship building have progressed the building trades market share and footprint across the Southeast. Please help me welcome Glenn to the stage. Next up, we have Ms. Heather Montgomery. She is the Director of Labor Supply at TVA. Heather Montgomery is the Director of Labor Supply at Tennessee Valley Authority. Heather is responsible for identifying represented labor gaps and implementing solutions that align with TVA-wide strategic goals. Heather has more than 23 years' experience at TVA, most recently serving as the Senior Manager, Regulatory and Corporate Training. Heather has held various roles across the enterprise, including supporting the Power Service Shops, Real Estate Strategy and Support Group, Reservoir Land Planning, and Manager of Corporate and Regulatory Training. She has also played an integral role in supporting the enterprise-wide workforce optimization, Homeward Bound, Muscle Shoals Reservation redevelopment, and natural resource plan projects. A University of North Alabama graduate, Heather received her Bachelor's of Science degree in Environmental Biology. She also received a Master's of Science degree in Environmental Planning and Management from Johns Hopkins University and a postgraduate certification in Higher Education from Harvard University. Heather serves on the Board of Directors for the TVA Community Credit Union and volunteers as a pitching coach for the local softball team. Let's welcome Heather to the stage. Okay, and the final panelist is Mr. Charles Raines. He's the 10th District International Representative for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Charles Raines began his career with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers in 1991, working for Sequatchie Valley Electrical Cooperative. He completed his lineman apprenticeship program in 1995. Charles served as an assistant business manager at Local 175 in Chattanooga from 2002 through 2015. He was appointed as IBEW International Representative for the 10th District in 2015. His duties include serving as 10th Journeyman Lineman Testing Coordinator and an advisor to the IBEW/NECA Lineman Apprenticeship Program. He also is responsible for contract negotiations, organizing, and local union administration for IBEW local unions in Middle and East Tennessee. Charles also serves as the IBEW Council Representative on the TVA Trades and Labor Council, where he serves on many boards and committees, including the TVA Apprenticeship Utilization Committee. Let's give Mr. Raines a round of applause. All right. So we're just going to do some Q&A with the panels here. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So thank you all for being here with us today. We appreciate your expertise and your time, and looking forward to just talking a little bit about what apprenticeship programs have done for you in your organizations. First softball question, just to get us started. The panel represents a strong and long-lasting partnership. Briefly tell us about the organizations that you represent. Briefly explain what your organization does. Glenn, would you like to go first?
Yeah, thank you for having me. How's everybody doing? Well, yeah, tough crowd here, I see already. But anyway, no, thank you. So I'm the administrator. I'm the Southern Region representative for North American Building Trades Unions, but I'm also the administrator for the TVTLC agreement, Tennessee Valley Trades and Labor Council, and I'm also the administrator for the Southern Company and Walt Disney World agreements. So in my role, in my administrator role, I'm the liaison, right, for labor and management. I am the protector of the agreement. I make sure that, number one, that both sides, right, are following the agreement, that we are sticking to the agreement, and that we are following the agreement to our utmost highest on all sides. Also, push initiatives in terms of what can we do to better our partners. We'll talk about partnerships today. NAB2, North American Building Trades, we value our partnership with all of our owners, our contractors, our international and local unions. That is what we do. We are, we are the glue that sticks everybody together, right? And there's sometimes those conversations are easy, but sometimes they are hard as well. But that's why we do this work, to continue to represent the folks that are doing the work. So, I enjoy doing that. I graduated in 2008. I joined the union in 2009. My family had businesses, and they learned us good hard work and what we if you play by the rules and do hard work, you can you never know where you'll end up in life. What I like to get that testimony to talk about, like how do you get here, and serving out throughout high school, learning the trade, becoming a business manager, as you said in the bio, and now I'm the Southern Region Rep for North American Building Trades and the administrator for these agreements. It's a testimony to what you can do when you put your head down, do the work. You don't have to go out there and wave, right? You'll be identified, and you will be the folks that people say, good hard work pays off. So anyway, that's pretty much what I do as a Southern Region Rep for North American Building Trades.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Charles?
Is it on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Charles Raines, and I'm the international representative for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I just want to talk a little bit about our organization and tell you a little bit about it. The IBEW was formed by an individual by the name of Henry Miller back in 1891. He was an overhead line worker, and back in that day, 1 in every 2 line workers were killed on the job. So Mr. Miller saw a very huge need for safety and for training, and that's really what the IBEW is founded on, is those 2 things, and they do go hand in hand together. When we're talking about apprenticeships, it's not just training for a skilled workforce, it's also training a safe workforce. So those things go hand in hand together. But anyway, the IBEW was started in 1891, and today we're currently over 820,000 members, active members throughout the United States and Canada. Our relationship with TVA really began back, I would say, as early as the 1930s when President Roosevelt came up with a new idea in the TVA Act of 1933. And from that time, our partnership has grown. We continue to work together. It's not always good times. It's sometimes we have tough decisions we have to make, but we always respect each other's position and we work through any problems that we have. It's been a good relationship. We've got a lot of things accomplished over the years. We came up with a Code of Excellence program. It's been very successful with the IBW, the other craft unions as well. And then I want to mention the apprenticeship utilization agreement that we have. That's been something, it's been really great for our industry, not only TVA, but for the industry. So we'll get into that a little deeper later on, but that's from the IBW. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Eric?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I know you can hear me. My name is Eric Coons, and I'm honored and privileged to be here with you today. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. I have the honor of representing over approaching 400,000 members of the United Association of Pipe Trades. We have the best darn plumbers, pipe fitters, steam fitters, and welders in the world. And it's thanks to our apprenticeship. So thank you again for having me here. I'll make mine short.
Awesome.
Excellent. Heather?
Heather Montgomery. Thank you for having me as well. I represent TVA, and so as part of TVA, we know we have energy, environment, and economic development, right? But also we have about 10,000 annual employees, but we have also about the same amount of contract employees too. And so you talk about the volume of work that TVA has across the valley. Will mentioned it earlier. It's rebuilding the grid system, right? It's new generation and new technologies. And so what is that going to look like over the next 10, 20 years, right? And so what a great place we're in right now to talk about apprenticeships, right? Because if we can get these workers in now, right, as the grid changes, they see the old technology, but they're a part of developing the new technology. And so you'll see that I have a passion for apprenticeship programs. I enjoy, sitting and working alongside these fellows up here. While I'm not a tradesperson myself, my father was an electrician and my grandfather was a boilermaker. So I feel like being able to work alongside these guys, I'm continuing their legacy. So hopefully you'll see my passion through this today.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So each of your organizations have apprenticeship programs that create gold standards. You mentioned the safety aspect. That's incredibly important. But each of these programs create a gold standard for workforce development. Charles and Eric, can you give us a brief overview of your programs?
Yes. Our program with IBW is administered through the ETA, which stands for the Electrical Training Alliance. It's a national program. It was established, I think, around 70 years ago. It's between the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers and the National Electrical Contractors Association, NECA. And the two organizations, they saw a need of coming together and trying to establish the best program that they can together, jointly, to produce the most qualified craftsmen in the industry. And we feel like we've done that. It's grown to one of the largest of its kind in the United States. And one of the things that's unique about our program as well is we spend millions of dollars literally each year on training, and not one penny of that $1 million plus is from taxpayers. It's money that's generated through the amount of work that we have. Our members pay 2% of their wages into the program. So it's unique in that sense where there's no federal or state dollars coming in our program. It's funded by our organization. And the other thing is we earn while we learn. That's something that we really push. Our apprentices, they work 40 hours a week, sometimes more than 40 hours, and then they go to school 2 nights a week for about 2 to 3 hours for 2 semesters in the spring and in the fall.
And about how many locals with apprenticeship programs are in Tennessee?
Just in Tennessee, we have 7 local unions, what we call construction unions, that have apprentice programs. They're local programs. They're administered by the ETA, but we do have local programs. And at the current time, we have over 1,800 indentured registered apprentices in the state of Tennessee right now.
1,800, that's amazing. And can you share any projected growth that you might be looking at?
Yeah, we're almost maxed out just because of the every school we have, the class, like I said, they go to class 2 nights a week, and we're at capacity right now with the room we have. So we're looking at other options of maybe going to some more online classes and looking at additional avenues to use for training.
I would add to that what Charles is explaining is typical for all the building trades. We each pretty similarly handle each other. And what is the vital part of that is our partnership with our contractors and our end users, such as TVA, because they contribute for the training. For every hour that is worked, whether it's an apprentice or a journeyman, money is invested in behalf of that local for training alone. That is how we're able to afford these things. So in the time that we've been here in the last 7 years since I've been business manager, I've seen our apprenticeship grow from typically 120 apprentices a year to now 500 and even growing stronger. And it's not just the investment in the training, but here's the big thing. We invest in our trainers because we're pipe fitters, we're plumbers, we're HVAC technicians. We are not teachers. We need to know how to teach. And so each one of our organizations, the IBEW does this, the UA does this, bricklayers, sheet metal workers, everybody, invest in training our instructors so that they know that there are different kinds of learning. I may come in and I'm a book guy, right? But this guy's a hands-on guy. It doesn't matter. We've got to learn how to train these people. And so there's not just a significant investment in the training for our apprentices. There's even more significant investment in our training of our instructors. Now these apprenticeships typically, as Charles said, 0 debt. But they also come out of it from the UA's apprenticeship, and probably likely from all of them. Ours come out with 45 college credits. And we give them a path to go on to get a college degree as well. I'm a college graduate today. I know my mom couldn't believe it. It happened, right? Finally. And but it's because of these programs that provide that opportunity.
And I would like to add, I mean, you asked how many apprenticeships across the valley. There's hundreds across the valley. From all our 15 different trades, you have numerous apprenticeship programs across the valley. You also have pre-apprenticeship programs across the valley. A lot of investment was done through our Trades Future Department that, funnels a lot of money to pre-apprenticeship programs and everything. So, but I want to go back a little bit to one of the things that kind of helped revamp these guys, where they're talking about it, and what Heather talked about earlier is that in terms of the partnership. So what we did is TVA and myself, we sat down, we looked at what do we need to do to meet the demands of the emerging work that's coming up. What do we need to do in terms of the workforce? And what do we need to do for communities that are disadvantaged or even advantaged, communities that don't even realize we exist, right? How do we get the word out that you can have an opportunity? I come from a small rural town. When Jockey International closed, it was like it decimated the town, right? And so that shouldn't have been the end. Folks should have known that even if you went to college or not, there's opportunity for you to make a decent living for yourself. And so, so what we did is we talked about apprenticeship. We got a lot of, like I think Mr. Scott said earlier, baby boomers going out of the market nowadays, right? And we do have a lot of. I'm a millennial. We got some Gen Zs, and Gen Xs, and everything, right? But how do we give those folks the opportunity to know that you can have another career? I think Will said earlier about Buc-ee's, right? And all these other different industries realizing that the workers out there need an opportunity. We've moved away from vocational a lot, right? We move so driven towards college, but we never gave people an alternative. There's nothing wrong with folks who go to college. We got people that go to college, like Eric, similar to Eric, that's in our programs. But we challenge each other to say, hey, let's get an initiative. Let's turn up the volume on how do we get the people in the valley. So what we did, we came up with an agreement, and the deal that Charles spoke about earlier is apprenticeship utilization. It was two LRSs, LRS 77 and 78, and they talk about pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship, and we have goals. So we are in the 20% phase now. I think October 1st is supposed to be at 25%, and by sometime early next year it's supposed to be at 33 1/3. And we are challenging our local unions, our contractors to meet those goals, and if not, what can we do to help you get there? And so those are the initiatives that we have put in place that help what these guys are talking about now. I heard Charles talk about maxing, but what we're trying to do is actually invest too, so that when they do max out in their current facilities, that we can rent more space to continue to bring apprentices and bring people in to meet the demand of what the valley calls for in terms of maintenance, in terms of new construction, in terms of any investment that is going on in the valley.
That's excellent, Glenn. And just like your organizations have, read the tea leaves and you're looking at your forecasting, any specific advice to other industries or other employers that are coming to that same realization about how do we connect with these new workers?
Yeah, quite honestly, I mean, you got to look at it like the generations have changed quite a bit. Your older school, right? Your boomers they stayed on a job, and that was their job till the day they retired, right? This new generation, I was talking about, I got my oldest daughter's about to be 15 in January, and already she's got different things she wants to do, right? And they say in my generation, millennial, right? I thought I wasn't that far off from the Gen Zs. I'm way far off, right? And so we were talking about like millennials having 4 different careers probably within their lifetime, and a lot of that is for those employers or owners or anybody who's looking at bringing in a new workforce or giving them opportunities. You got to meet them where they're at, right? And that, whether that's social media, whether that is at their high schools, or whether that is at the colleges. I mean, there are people that go to college like myself. I went for a semester. I'm like, this is not for me, And so you just got to meet the people where they're at. You got to make sure that you are branding in a way that get people to see the excitement, offer them to come to your establishment, get them a little bit of create some sort of mechanism where they kind of get a gist, an example of what you do. Because again, people's attention span these days are like very short. And so if you don't catch them initially, a lot of time you lost them, and then they are also moving on to the next deal. So
excellent. Thank you for that.
yeah.
All right, so TVA and the Tennessee Valley Trades and Labor Council recently signed a MOU that established some high expectations. Glenn and Heather, can you share some of the details around this historic MOU?
Well, I think you covered it previously, but just to reiterate, like by April of 2025, our goal is to have 33 1/3 apprentices in our hourly workforce. And that's a third. Like a third of our hourly workforce should be apprentices. And that sends a very strong message, right? Not only across TVA about setting an expectation, also across our contractors, our companies that we employ, that like just hiring journeymen is not going to cut it anymore. Like we need new folks in the workforce. We need these apprentices to come in to learn the facilities and to grow in the trades. But then also it puts a lot of pressure, right, on our unions, because as Charles mentioned, they're already tapped out. Like they're full already. And then when you have a company like TVA that comes in and says, okay, instead of 15%, which is what we typically have, we want you to have 33 1/3. Right? So how are we going to partner together to do that? And so some of the things that we've done is we identified specifically some welding qualifications that we needed in certain parts of the valley, right? And so TVA, myself, and we took some Boilermaker union representation. We have taken some pipe fitter union representation. We have gone out to the trade schools, to the community colleges, and we have said, hey, here's an immediate pathway for you to come into the workforce, right? You have a skill set that we need, right? And the work that you've already done to learn this skill set, you won't come in as a year one apprentice. You may come in as a year 2 or a year 3 based on where you are in this curriculum, right? And so we've had some that are just about to graduate and they sign up that night. Before we leave, they say, hey, I'm graduating in 3 weeks and I want to join the union tonight. And it's immediate success. Others, are a couple of months away, and we say, wait till you get that certification and then come back and talk. And we've had huge successes with that. We just saw it at Gallatin. We had an outage at Gallatin. We had a very large number of Boilermaker apprentices, right? There was some concern about their ability to perform the work because they were so new in the trade, right? But because we did targeted recruiting, right, we tapped the skill sets they already had, they were able to work side by those journeymen, and really it's a success story, right? There's been no quality issues and no safety issues because of those apprentices on site. So the demand is there, right? In order to meet the demand, I think you have to tailor the way that you attract the workforce, right? And think about doing things outside of the way that you normally do, right? And see what works and try new things.
And to add to that, we covered a little bit about the initiatives and the LRS that we have out there. But to add to what Heather is saying is that when we bring those new folks in, we also got to retain them. And I think we heard a lot earlier about retainage. And one of the things we are doing to retain the folks into the Valley, working in these apprenticeship programs or pre-apprenticeship programs is, we came up with a respect program. I'll be honest with you, these new folks, right? The new generation, you got to tell them that they're doing a good job. You gotta really massage them a little bit to get them to, it's not like the old days where you can talk a little bit of smack and, cursing and everything like that. You're gonna lose them. But, for the women that we're bringing into the programs, right? It always started it's a male-dominated industry, but we have so many women coming into the trades now. We have a Trade Women Build Nations conference where TVA supports, all of our owners support across the country. Last year we had like 5,000, attendees to this, and majority of those are women. And so you got to create an environment where people feel that they're wanted, that they're respected, to keep them. And so what Respect does, it lays out so many different initiatives on how to deal with the new workforce and changing workforce. The workforce is changing quite a bit. A lot of people that are coming into the industry now are people that traditionally come in probably 30 years ago. As my brothers said earlier, and what we've done is gotten innovative and thought really hard about how do we retain this workforce. And so with the Respect Initiative, we're going to be rolling out sometime next year. This is a way, not just you got to get them, right? But you got to keep them as well. And you got to make this, as we always say often with TVA, the employer of choice. We got to make the local unions, right? And the JATCs, those local unions and JATs of choice. We want them to feel, number one, that you're wanted, that you're here, but not only do you have a good career, right? But you learn a good skill. And to be quite honest with you, we don't want them to just stay at apprentice and journal level. We want them to become the next entrepreneurs, to provide those jobs in their community, to go to that next level, not only just master your craft, but become a job, a job maker in your community, to give somebody else that hand up.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. And so what I hear you saying is, really fine-tuning your employee value proposition, but really making it the apprenticeship value proposition. And I would imagine that you have to constantly tweak that, especially with 5 different generations in the workforce, and having multiple elevator pitches ready for which member of the workforce you come across, right? That's excellent. Okay, so kind of talking on the same vein here, how do you promote registered apprenticeship to local power companies, large industrial customers? Eric, can you give us the UA perspective?
Absolutely. Living in the South as we do, there are preconceptions and I assure you a lot of misinformation when it comes to building trades unions. We're not the big bad union that loves to go on strike and loves to enforce on people. That's just not our way. The building trades unions, whole concept, it puts the highest value on our end users, such as TVA, such as General Motors and Ford, and our contractors who use our manpower. And so it is truly a partnership. We sit on committees that are typically made up of labor and management. And we resolve issues, and we plan and plan on training and things. So it is always a collaborative approach. I would say that is the biggest draw for me to doing what I do, because it's true democracy at work. You know, everybody's got a vote. Everybody in the board has a vote. And whether you're from trade labor or whether you're from management, the end goal when you're in those rooms always seems to be the same: to improve, to drive, to grow. And so it really becomes, when you realize that, you've really got a pleasant experience, and you can really be constructive. I see in the room I've got some representatives from our training center down in Chattanooga. We have 3 training centers in East Tennessee. We have 7 trade labor unions across the state, each with their own training facilities. And they work together as well to improve training. And there's a lot of brainstorming, stepping out of the box. In today's world, especially with regards to training and technology, you have to be prepared to pivot. You have to be prepared to change. You have to be prepared to meet the needs not only of your contractors, but of your students. Like Glenn just touched on, kids today aren't the same as they were when, you know, now I'm the old timer going, these kids these days. But, you know, when I was a kid, I was one of them, you know, but here we are. This is the world we're in. And so that end goal needs to be to provide the best, not for one entity, but for all of them.
Thank you, Eric. Charles, can you give us IV?
Yes, I would say it's a win-win situation for everyone. Number one, you're making an impact on an individual's life. You're making them a better life by getting them as an apprentice. You're helping your company because you're getting a well-qualified individual that's been trained to perform the work that you need them to do, to complete. And then you're also helping the industry that you're in. And that's why I feel like the LRS Apprenticeship Utilization Agreement is so important. It's building for the future. And the only bad thing about it, Heather, is it should have been implemented 5 years ago instead of last year. Because we are in a labor crunch currently, and this is going to help us, but it's going to be down the road because our programs, as far as the IBEW, Eric, yours may be a little different, but they're anywhere from 4 to 5 year programs. So it takes time to get someone trained, but it is looking out for not only the industry you're in, but it's just for future growth, because we're here today with TVA, and there's already been a lot of talk about how much work is going to be going on here within the TVA system. But outside of it it's there too. It's data centers, it's car plants. I just saw where Tennessee now is going to be the #1 manufacturer for vehicles in the United States. It's data centers. I mean, it's battery plants. There's so much growth and there's so much work coming, and it's going to help everyone at the end of the day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So you've talked a little bit about how you're tapping into this 5-generation workforce. How about having a registered apprenticeship program? Has that helped or hindered your ability, to manage your recruiting systems within your organization?
Oh, it's the biggest selling point. Honestly, it is one of our biggest selling points, our apprenticeship programs. And the fact that our instructor program is, for all the building trades, is regarded as one of the top training programs in the world. That is a huge selling point. because then they had more confidence that you're producing qualified, skilled tradesmen who are not only going to be skilled at what they do, your safety is going to be you're going to have very good safety numbers. Safety and quality go hand in hand, so you feel a lot more confident that the end product that you're paying for is going to be exactly what you want.
Excellent, excellent. Heather, how does the apprenticeship programs, has it helped or hindered how TVA recruits?
No, and I mentioned it earlier. You know, how we think about recruiting for apprentices has really changed. You know, we have some targeted skill sets that we show as gaps, right? And we can tell you in different pockets of the state where we need more welders or more electricians, right? And so then we go out and basically headhunt for those skills. But to walk into a trade school or a community college for, say, a welding program, right? And to be able to talk to those young people about, hey, we value the skill set that you have now, right? And I can show you the numbers about how your skill set's not only going to be valued now, next year, over the next 10 years. I can tell you exactly how we're going to use your skill set, right? And that just really, like, it flips a switch in them. You know, for TVA to stand up there and our union partner to say, we value you. We don't even know you, right? But you have a skill set that obviously you like, because you're going to a technical school to learn more about it, right? We want to pick you up as soon as you graduate, right? And we want to employ you, you know, and not just now. We want to make you a career, right? And we talk about the career pathways. We talk about the money. And when you start talking about the money, like some of these places we go to, they're very rural, they're poor, right? And you're talking about a wage for them that probably no one in their family has ever made before. Mm-hmm. And so when you start talking about money, I mean, it's like you can see some of them, the relief that just comes off, right? And they're like, yes, when can I sign up and when can you use me? Right? I've got a couple of folks from the Memphis area that text me often to my personal cell phone. Like, I graduate in 3 weeks. You know, like, what can I do to prepare for my welding certification, my welding test? You know, and I'm sending them, you know, 2 contacts, one with the fitters and one with the Boilermakers, so that they can go to those unions and have those conversations. So it's time for them to pass the test. They're very well prepared, right? But it's different how we recruit now, right? You've got to have those one-on-one personal conversations with those folks, right? And let them know it's a skill set that you have now that we're going to tap and make a career for you, right? And like I mentioned, it's just the excitement you see is just immediate.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, to touch on that, one of the things that we've really done too is we've tried to reach out to schools, guidance counselors, because they have so much influence over students and what career path they take. And it's kind of funny, they don't realize what we're about either until you really sit down and you talk about what they can make, what they're, you know, that they can receive health care at no cost and retirement and those type of things. And then this is the honest truth that happened. We had a guidance counselor, I'm not going to mention the county, but he actually came in and applied for our apprentice program 2 days after we went out and met with him. That's a true story. I'm not saying we need to be doing that, but it did make an impact. And one thing that we've learned too is when we're going to the high schools is inviting the parents to come, because they have influence over their children's career path as well. And you talk to an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, insurance doesn't mean anything to them. But when you talk to that parent that their insurance is covered at 100%, that light bulb goes off, and then they start saying, hey, you may want to consider this. So that's something that we've done in recruiting, is try to reach out to guidance counselors, get them on board, and then the more you can involve the parents at that level, I think that's beneficial as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. We believe that apprenticeship programs are a great way to connect to the center of influence of the next generation workforce, so reaching out to their parents and, guidance counselors. And we think that the structure of the apprenticeship program makes it easy for people to see that career roadmap and, buy into that and say, yes, I want to be a part of this. You mentioned, a couple of you mentioned a little bit about the innovation and, changing up how you train. Has the registered apprenticeship program, how has that helped you with innovation in terms of your teaching? Most of the apprenticeship programs, I would think, are hands-on, but how are you able to leverage things like network-based learning and things like that?
One of the things we've done is catch up to the times.
Excellent.
Shop classes are a big part of what we do, but there are also math classes, basic science classes. And some of these classes that our apprentices take, let's face it, it's not necessary that you drive an hour and a half from your job site to a physical spot at a school and then drive an hour and a half back home. The ability to do online training has really helped not just our apprenticeships out, but it's helped our apprentices out. Because let's face it, these young men and women are working 8 to 10 hours a day, and then twice a week they drive to a school for 3 hours of training a night, and then drive back home, and they are expected to be at work the next day. So if we can give them the opportunity to do their classwork and be at home with their families and get a good night's rest, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? Of course, we're not going to teach welding online. We're not going to teach hands-on plumbing classes and HVAC classes online. Those, you're required to be there. But to give that flexibility has been huge. And I can tell you from my perspective as a business manager at a local union, to get our trustees to acknowledge that was a feat. Because so many of us are stuck in that old school mentality. We're comfortable with it. It's the way it's done. It's the way it's always been done. Think outside the box. We have to give these kids the opportunity to rest, still expect them to meet our standards, but give them that opportunity. There were, every once in a while there were car wrecks. These kids are tired. And I've heard so many times over the last 5-6 years, this generation of kids, they don't want to work. I'm not seeing that. These kids want to work. And let's not forget, these are the age of kids that are out there defending our country in the military right now.
Great point. Great point.
And we also have like helmets to hard hats. I'm glad you brought it up. Have helmets to hard hats. We have other entities, programs that for our men and women in uniform that are fighting for us each and every day to have a meeting like this, right? They can have a pathway into apprenticeship. We have other, besides the MC3 and other programs, but, one of the glorious things about being administrator of the council is, we got a president, we got a vice president, but the administrator pretty much runs the council. The president runs our meetings, but as administrator, I am tasked with what can I do to better the agreement? What needs to be done? Does a committee need to be formed? Do we need to have more attention on this issue or that issue? And so one of the things I will say about innovation, right, is we've had to have those, executive session conversations about what your program's doing. There are some programs that are still adding in the Stone Age, right? But as Eric said, but there are some that are doing much more to meet folks where they are, meet us at the moment we're in. And so what we do is sometimes get all of those programs together, and they challenge each other. They have conversation with each other. They trade ideas and ideals to figure out how do we make sure that we are meeting the moment for what is tasked of us. And so, that's one good thing I would say. And one of the things I love about our council is we can continue to move things forward. We can, if our local unions are not having enough resources or they need some help with, whether it's a virtual training or whether it's a training online or something like that, if one of the other unions is already kind of there, they can ask each other questions about how do you get there, how can you help us, and how can TVA help with resources. TVA has always been a really good partner in terms of, we know what we need. What do we need to do for you all to make you successful so that it makes us successful? And that's how that trilateral, the contractor, the owner, and and labor works together. And it is a very dynamic relationship that continues to move us all forward so that the people in the valley can continue to get power. They can also work in the place where they live and where they, where their tax dollars are going to be able to continue to thrive. So the innovation part is a standard bearer, I would say, that keeps everybody together to continue to move forward and provide those opportunities, no matter what challenges we may meet. How do you get there to have really good solutions?
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much. So we're coming towards the end of our time on the panel, but real quickly, I wanted to give you each maybe 30 seconds just to another bit of advice to any organization that might be considering working with the Apprenticeship for Tennessee and setting up their own apprenticeship program. Any last minute advice?
I can do it in 5 seconds. I'll use the old Nike slogan, just do it. Because I promise you won't be disappointed.
Excellent. Thank you.
I fully support that. I mean, the talent that you receive and that you're able to grow once you have a program like this is second to none. I mean, just being able to walk through a plant and see the skills and what these young people are able to do blows my mind every time I do it, right? And so to me, if you start with an apprenticeship program and you grow it, the sky's the absolute limit. So fully support it, and like Charles said, just do it.
My sister Heather here, she is amazing, right? She is, when we first formed this committee, she jumped right in it, right? And she showed the guys the way, right? Just being honest, right? And a truly trailblazer. And I will say that, I want to throw a little shout out to our guy. He just walked in the room, but he's going to probably kill me for this. David Beckler, if you'll stand up, David Beckler, he has been on the TVA side. He's been on the labor side. He is kind of like our guy, right? And let's give him a round of applause, y'all. He deserves it. David Beckler keeps all of us on the right trajectory of what we need to do for the Valley. He loves TVA. He loves labor. He loves it all. And so one thing he did when I asked him, Dave, do you mind kind of like helping lead this apprenticeship, committee? And him and Heather did some really, I would say, innovative things to continue to make sure that we are meeting our standards. We are meeting the moment. We are meeting what TVA and what the people in the Valley need. And so I really just want to say a big thank you to both of them. And then Charles, right? Charles, when him and Melvin Brewer, which is an iron worker, I put those guys, a mechanical and a civil, on their own purpose. I want to make sure that mechanical and civil understand that both, number one, both bring value, right? But also that we need that perspective from both sides of that will make it truly flourish into a deal that, number one, nobody can turn back and say, oh, we're not represented here, or we're not, any of that stuff, right? But that we are being intentional, and their strong leadership on that committee, along with our contractor partners, is really what makes this thing thrive. So the advice I have is, just like Charles just said, and my sister here, like, just do it. Do it. Don't be afraid. And there are going to be some times where there are going to be bumps in the road. But do like we do. We get in that back room. We may throw some chairs and stuff. No, I'm joking. But we'll find out, and we'll come out, and we'll make sure that we have something that comes out and that is going to work for all parties in which we're trying to meet. So thank you.
Well, first off, I would say if anybody's interested in setting up apprenticeships that you come into contact with regards to the building trades union, just send them to us. We're already there. We're in place. All they got to do is sign the bottom line, and we're going to start getting them qualified apprentices right off the bat, along with journeymen. And so I got to put that plug in, but that's for real. Secondly, I would say be sure to invest not just in your training, but in the training of your instructors and your coordinator. It's huge. You cannot forget. We learned earlier this week here in Knoxville, myself and some of the people with TVA, that there's a difference between goals and standards, right? There's a difference between goals and standards. Goals are where you believe you want to and need to be. Standards are what are going to get you there, right? Okay. And then finally, I want to relate a story to you because Charles and Will earlier touched on something that it cannot be overstated. What we do is change lives. What we are doing with apprenticeships changes lives and changes families' directions for generations. I get credited and I was awarded for the MC3 program in Nashville. I didn't do it. I didn't do it by myself. I did it with leaders from the other trade labor leaders, and we put a lot of time and a lot of investment. I just happened to be the guy that was president of the Nashville Building Trades during when it finally got up and running and started getting recognition. But I was honored and thrilled to be a part of all the trade labor unions that helped develop that program and invested in it. That was about 4 years ago now when that got off the ground, and it is functioning and flourishing at a high rate today. But I got a phone call this past year before Father's Day from, I'm going to try and do this without crying, but a young lady who went through our pre-apprenticeship program, the MC3 program, chose the United Association, and is now about to be a fourth-year apprentice, called me, and I'd already moved away from the role I'd been in and now to the role I'm in now, and she just thanked me. And this young woman came to the MC3 program. She was working 2 jobs, fast food restaurants. Her mother working at a convenience store. They had never had anything. They were never going to have anything. And she came into our program, the MC3, and she chose the United Association, now about to be a fourth-year apprentice. And she said that I would never have been here without you, and I just lost it. And she said, Father's Day is coming up, and I want to take you to breakfast.
Oh, man.
Because I look at you as a father. That's the kind of impact you can have on people. She will never have to worry about a paycheck again. She will never have to worry about insurance for her and her family again. She will never have to worry in her retirement about choosing between food and cat food. That's how dramatic this is. That's how real this is. So take that, keep that, because I promise you every one of you is going to have a story or two on your own after this gets going.
Excellent. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, real quick before you leave, so what we've tried to do here today is give you a snapshot of how TVA and trade unions have utilized the apprenticeship program. But all industries can follow this same gameplay, this same game plan. This can work in multiple industries across the state of Tennessee. So if you're an employer in a different industry, please come talk to us. We can follow this playbook. It'll work for you as well. And we're here to help you, and we're willing to work with you. And we heard the Deputy Commissioner speak about the nuclear industry, the EV industry. Apprenticeship programs will work. They'll help you tap into all layers of the workforce. And all we have to do, like the panelist said, is just do it. So we thank you for coming, and we hope you enjoyed the panel. And real quick before you leave the stage, we do have a gift for the panel. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Before we leave, we are going to do a Q&A. So many of you may have questions. And
I'm going to borrow 2 mics if that's okay.
You didn't mind.
yeah.
Oh,
I don't need it.
oh, well, okay. Well, thank you, and thank you very much.
So if anyone has any questions for the panelists, I'll have one here in the center.
I don't know if I need it either, but Eric, I'll go to you. You talked a couple of times about the program and investing in your trainers. Can you talk a little bit about what you guys do, some of the things you guys do to invest in your trainers? Because we hear that from some of our OJT trainers sometimes. Hey, man, I'm just exhausted. You know, training, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. So how do you invest in your training?
It certainly is. And we've got to recognize that. And at times, we just don't even think about it. So once a year, and it's typically in August, all of our instructors go up to Ann Arbor, Michigan, and spend a week between the University of Michigan and Washington Community College, and they learn how to teach. And we are taught by college professors the various ways of learning and the various ways of teaching. And then we're also dialed down into our specific subject matter as well during that time. So we're not just taught generalities about teaching. We dial it down in detail about the subject matter that you specifically as a teacher do. And so I served an apprenticeship for 5 years. That program is an additional 5-year program that you are expected to meet your standards and the goals to earn accreditation and graduation from that program as well. And that's typical of the trade labor unions. Charles has one, so does Glenn's trade labor union. They all do. And that helps us to bring something home, not only from the things that we're taught by college professors and leaders in the trade and the industry, but when you've got people like we have in this room who have a like mind and at the end of the day, whether our approach is the same or not, we have the same goal, right? You'll find when you get people in that room, the collaboration, it just is fantastic. And you bring so much of that home to your home office, and it does nothing but benefit your entire apprenticeship. Yes, sir.
Any other questions in the room? I saw the lady's hand in the back.
My question is, I work for the Ironworkers Local 384 Apprenticeship Program, and our problem is not that we need not that we need apprentices, because we have a bunch of applications, but we don't have the work to send them to. So for me, it's recruiting is not necessarily our priority as much as we would like it to be, because we don't really have anywhere to send them. So I don't know how that can be fixed.
So I'll tell you how that could be fixed. Number one, Eric hit on this earlier about organized labor and in the South and stuff like that. I think people, once they're educated, are being changed. The mindsets are changing about what they feel about organized labor. He was right. I mean, public sector unions do things different from building trades unions. Building trades unions do things different from some of the other private sector unions, right? But as people understand that it's there to improve people's lives, give them a pathway into the middle class, stuff like that, right? That's what changes that. As iron workers continue to organize and grow their unions and their contractor base, that's going to change that. As TVA, which area is that iron worker local? Which in the valley is here? So you got Kingston getting ready to come up and start needing people. You got other plants, Oak Ridge, right? I mean, it's not TVA, but it's other work. Oak Ridge is about to ramp up a lot of money. A lot of federal dollars, state dollars are going into some of these areas. That's going to be a great need. So you might want to hold on to those applications, because you're going to definitely need to call some of those folks, because when it does hit, it's going to be a pretty quick, significant hit in terms of the people they'll need. We got a new construction project coming up over here, in the Kingston area. And apprenticeship utilization is going to be top of mind. And they're going to probably pick out, I don't know if it's 1,000, 2,000 people on that particular project, but the work is coming. And the thing is, I would just, it's going to be backlogs in some of these areas where they haven't traditionally had a lot of work, but it caught a lot of people off guard as well. So with that said, it's coming. But organizing, growth, we just don't need to rely on TVA. We don't just need to rely on Oak Ridge, right? But our organizers should be out there, talking to other non-union contractors that are ironwork contractors to try to get them in and to the union and understand that the quality that they'll get, the training that they're going to get, to meet their needs, and that the union is there to help with that. They're not there to run the business of the local contractor. They're there to assist in any way they need, provide a standard of the wages, benefits, stuff like that, and level off the playing field for all contractors so that everybody in this area, right, Knoxville, East Tennessee, has the ability to make a good quality living for them and their families and retire with dignity. I mean, people see that retirements are getting attacked, Social Security, things like that, they're kind of iffy right now. But those pensions during the 2008 crash all the way to now, they maintained. That defined benefit plan maintained. And so, as we have these conversations in the country about, the dignity of work and what people get to have, that is what the iron workers produce. That's what the IBW produce. That's what the UA, the carpenters, all the way down to the bricklayer, cement mason, any one of our trades have something to offer those contractors and those owners and those communities.
Charles?
And if I may, just to add to that, and I'm going to go back to the apprenticeship utilization agreement that we just signed recently. We talk about apprenticeships being the gold standard. This apprenticeship utilization is the gold standard. It's set the bar. But we need more customers and more companies doing that, because their TVA is showing a commitment to train the future workforce. And we need other companies and other people making that same commitment, because they're going to hold us accountable to make sure we provide those apprentices, and we're going to hold them accountable to that they're going to work our apprentices. But it's a joint agreement that it's really the golden standard, in my opinion, going forward for our industry.
And just to touch on that, I know, I'm just coming from the TVA perspective, right? But we have a really good understanding of what our labor needs are going to be across all the unions over the next 10 years. And so we can sit down with your local and talk about, for the ironworkers specifically, what those peaks and valleys are going to look like for you. And that can help you plan to increase your apprenticeship programs too. And we can do that for any of the building trades, right? We have that data, and we want to have those conversations with you, right? And regardless of whether those apprentices end up at TVA or they don't, right? We're still improving the workforce across the valley, right? And that's the goal, right? And when we go out and talk with the young people, right, TVA may not be a good fit for you, right? And that's okay. But you're still improving the workforce across the valley.
Yeah, another thing that I would add too is part of this conference is we have a networking session right after this where we have lunch, and there's a lot of industry here, besides TVA, that is looking for that type of work. And we've mentioned the nuclear industry. There's organizations like Oak Ridge Associated Universities here. They have a lot of connections with those nuclear employers, so that those might be connections that you can make in the networking to, make new connections and find new avenues of work for your team. The gentleman here in the middle.
First of all, I think this has been a great 2 hours this morning, and I learned a lot. And I think we should congratulate Shalandria and the staff for putting on a great job here. Appreciate it. I'm Girish Seshagiri. I'm founder CEO of nonprofit Apprenticeship Implementation Solutions. And I'm also a Department of Labor certified apprenticeship ambassador. So my goal in life now is to promote registered apprenticeships here in Tennessee also. My question was, how do you meet the employer's requirements for soft skills? And it's part of your training in this room. The other one I had a question was on tech workforce. We didn't talk a lot about it, but there's a tremendous shortage of skills as well as lack of diversity in the workforce, in the technology work. So if you can address both of those, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Excellent.
With regards to diversity, that has been a huge goal of all the trade labor unions for sure. And I can just speak as a former business manager over UA Local 572, which covered all of Middle Tennessee. Because of the way we've done things in the past and people getting stuck in that rut, my biggest task was to remove those handcuffs and open the gates, because everybody deserves a chance. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what religion. It doesn't matter what gender you identify with. We are all Americans here in this country, and everyone deserves a chance to succeed. We're not going to get rich. I'm not a rich man. But we deserve a quality of life. If we're willing to learn and work for it, you're going to get that in the building trades now. I'm seeing, as far as the shortage of skill, labor in this country, is not a fault of necessarily the American people. The fault is in American leadership. Now, that might be government. That might be in the private sector. It's a failure to recognize the opportunities that need to be provided to our citizens. Now, that would be my biggest answer to you on that, because the first thing I did as a business manager was go to the radio. Believe it or not, people still listen to the radio. Believe it or not, people still watch TV. And so we invested in the media. We invested in radio. You still might hear me today in Nashville because nobody else wants to get their voice out there, and it's just never been a problem for me. But you will still see us advertise on the local football and basketball that is in Nashville on CW, on WB, and on Fox and stuff. So we advertise on that. We get out there and get that message out. And people need to know. And I think people are waking up and seeing this, you know. They're waking up and seeing that I don't have to go to college for 7 years and get a license to drink. I can go to work right now and not put my parents and myself in debt and come out of this a respectable citizen who is contributing to this society.
And to your point on the soft skills, soft skills, anytime there is a change of anything in the industry, our local unions, international unions invest in it. If it's something they're not training in, they will invest the money in it to do what they got to do to train the people up in it, similar to what he talked about earlier. And so that's one thing in terms of soft skills. Anything that's coming up innovatively, they will invest in it. A lot of times they have already invested in it if they've already heard about it. And that's one of the great things. In terms of diversity, I'll be straight up with you on this. We've sucked on that sometimes in the past, in years past, right? Nowadays, as Eric said, we look at our trades futures, all of our general presidents, so my president, Sean McGarvey, Secretary Treasurer Bishop, and the governing board of presidents, our national leaders, have implemented, put weight behind it, money, resources behind the diversity initiatives. And what that has done with our trades futures arm is it created, the programs like Eric mentioned earlier, where he got an award for. And they focus on, rural white folks, right? The urban folks in the inner cities that traditionally haven't heard, that don't know we exist. Women, veterans, people transitioning, right? And like, as Eric said, we have been intentional about making sure those people understand. We probably hadn't hit those communities in the past. That's why a lot of them didn't know we were still here. And I'll be honest with you, to some of the things that we're dealing with in terms of shortages, that has accumulated to some of that. And so what we have done is we had those honest conversations with each other about why we need to make sure that everybody has opportunity to come into these trades if you want to. Handcuffs being brought down. I appreciate Eric saying that he was one of the ones that really led, and his leadership was really appreciated, because it used to be barriers in place where certain folks couldn't get into the apprenticeship programs. Those have been, in the majority of our unions, taken down. If you could pass a test in the UA and get in, you weed yourself out. We don't stop at the interview process, you won't be able to make it, right? Some unions still do that, right? Have that process, but the majority of them don't. they have taken away, they put more of those resources in terms of getting people, organizing them, bringing them in, letting him or her, figure out, is this what they want to do with their lives or not? And so, those initiatives with our Trades Future Department, with things, and the young lady he was mentioning earlier is a young black woman out of Nashville. And she, is now pretty much working in the office, helping estimate, helping do a lot of things, even as an apprentice. That speaks volumes. And it wasn't because of who she is, it's because of what she brought to the table. Her ability to be out there, get out there, work hard, play by the rules, and so she's succeeding. And so when we say that, at our table, our local unions are hiring organizers that can speak to demographics that don't speak English, right? We are being very innovative, and our arms are wide open to everybody who wants that opportunity. And if you want that opportunity in these building trades unions and all 15 trades that we cover, you can have that opportunity. And we take pride in making sure that everybody can work to their God-given potential to be able to do what they want to do with their lives and provide that opportunity. That way, economically, it helps our country. For everything that you build, you're going to need housing, you're going to need stores, you're going to need everybody to support that economy and spend that money in the economy so that you can create more jobs, more opportunities, and more abilities for people to be able to do it.
Excellent. Thank you, Glenn. And I'd add to the panel's comments and credit our deputy commissioner and our commissioner for their foresight. The Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development is one of the very few departments in any state that has also incorporated things like the America's Job Banks, the local veterans employment reps, re-entry specialists for justice-involved individuals. That's all housed within our department so that we are able to carry these job messages and the apprenticeship messages to all socioeconomic groups across the state of Tennessee through one voice, one team. So just due to time, if there's not any more questions, we're going to skip over the outreach campaign and we're going to go straight to the awards and recognition. Thank you. We wanted to recognize TVA. TVA specifically has the longest running registered apprenticeship program in the state of Tennessee. Over 85 years. I think it was registered in 1939. It's the oldest program in the East region and in the entire state. So also, Jamie Cho, could you come up? Jamie's worked with our team closely to help put all this together. If you haven't worked with TVA, please reach out to these folks. It's a great organization. They're willing to help you with all the information that they have. They have an excellent, they've kind of created this forecasting center, and I know they've shared how they do that with other industries. It's a really great tool, so just a ton of information that you've been sharing, and we really appreciate all the expertise and your willingness to collaborate with everyone in the state. This award we're giving you is the 2024 Trailblazer Award. It's presented to the Tennessee Valley Authority for their registered apprenticeship program established in 1939.
One, thank you guys all for being here today. We truly appreciate it. Again, Mr. Deputy, we appreciate the partnership. We appreciate the relationship. Back there in the back, you heard our union partners talk to us. Since 1939, we've been working with them. And so it's not just us by ourselves. But like I said earlier, and I'll say the same thing, there are so many people out there that need the opportunity, that the opportunity is there for them. We got to work together, collectively together. Not one company is going to do it. Not one group is going to do it. It's going to take all of us to do it. But we have the opportunity to change lives. We've been doing it for 93 years. We're going to do it for another 93. We appreciate the partnership that we have, and we're going to continue doing that as we move forward. Thank you guys all for coming.
I would be remiss if we did not recognize any federal, state, local officials. Do we have any elected officials? Thank you so much for your time. Anyone else? Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for your service. Our executive directors of our local workforce development boards, if you would stand. Our business and workforce directors, please stand. Our leavers, our co-hosts, anyone that represents the consortium of state agencies working together to bolster apprenticeship, the Department of Education, TBR, our college system, Department of Corrections, and of course the Department of Labor, if you would stand. Let everyone see you. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful kickoff to National Apprenticeship Week, and we thank you for your time, your attendance, and your patience. Thank you so much.